So after a while, I went up to their room and tried to talk some sense into them again, but once more, my stepdad intervened, and this time he was a lot less sweet about it. He told me point blank that I had to share the room with the kids because they'd earned this break, and then he shut the door right in my face before I could even say anything. And the best part was that my mom didn't even say anything to him, even though he was being extremely disrespectful and rude towards me. It was also ridiculous that he believed that they'd earned this break when it was actually I who had earned that promotion and the raise that had led to them being on this trip at all. And instead of being grateful for whatever I'd done, they had the audacity to be so disrespectful towards me. I was fuming when I got back to my room and saw the kids on the bed beside mine. I thought I'd try a different tactic, and I asked them if they'd be willing to shift to the other room, hoping that they'd say yes, but they didn't. They told me that their parents had told them to stay in whichever room I'd be in, and that's why they'd taken it for granted that they'd be sharing a room with me. I didn't say anything to them because it wasn't their fault that their dad was being a jerk. So I let them be and thought about what to do next for the next couple of hours until at around 10 in the night, when I realized that the kids had fallen asleep. I'd thought about it long and hard, and I realized that the only way out for me right now was to just leave without notifying any of them and leave them on their own. They'd been really disrespectful and selfish, and there was just no way that my stepdad was going to boss me around on a vacation that I was paying for. I didn't think twice about it, and before I knew it, I grabbed all my bags and had made a run for it. I hadn't unpacked yet, so that was easy for me, and the hotel staff didn't care much either, since I'd told them that I was checking out and that the rooms would be paid for by my mother and stepdad. It was a little past midnight, but after searching for a while, I found another hotel a little distance away from the one I was in. I was lucky enough to get an Uber without waiting for long, and within half an hour, I'd checked into the other hotel, which was better than the previous one because now that I'd managed to get rid of my mom and her family, I could finally afford to spend all that money on myself. I had a good night's sleep, and the first thing that I did this morning was book myself a full body massage at the hotel spa to put myself at ease and fully be able to enjoy the vacation that I'd intended to have after several months of working myself to the bone for this promotion. I'd already blocked my stepdad and mother the night before, so I wasn't too worried about hearing from them, and there was no way they'd be able to find out where I was. I was having the time of my life so far, but that was only until a couple of hours ago when, at lunch, I finally heard from my mother. She'd made a fake account on Instagram to get through to me and had sent me a message about how I was being cruel to all of them, especially her. She said that abandoning my family wasn't the way to go, and if I'd really felt so offended by the events of the previous night, then I should have waited until the morning to confront them and discuss this like a family until we came to a conclusion that everyone would be pleased with. But instead, I chose to abandon them in a strange country, knowing that they didn't have any money on them at the moment since their cards wouldn't work internationally, and the hotel staff was already hounding them for money since they'd been talking about checking out once they discovered that I'd left in the middle of the night without telling any of them anything about it. So essentially, they didn't have any money and would soon be thrown out of the hotel as well if they couldn't confirm that they'd pay for the rooms, since I'd transferred the rooms to them instead before I left, so I couldn't be held responsible if anything went south, which I knew it would. My mother told me that she was incredibly disappointed in me and said that she hadn't expected this sort of juvenile and immature behavior from me, and demanded that I come back immediately to sort things out and bail them out. It was that exact entitlement that pissed me off, and in the heat of the moment, I messaged her back saying that she was an adult and could sort things out on her own, and to ask her husband for help since he's the one she relies on for everything now. And that pissed her off because, after that message, she told me that she wished she'd never even agreed to accompany me on this vacation at all, and that she should have known that I was jealous of her new life and her new family, which is why I was going out of my way to trouble them. I don't think this is my fault at all, and my reaction was probably how any sane human being in my situation would react to something like this in the same way. I'm not jealous, I'm just disappointed that she's not putting them before her own flesh and blood, but even that's okay since I'm an adult now. What I'm not cool with is being disrespected by people who are counting on me, and her not even bothering to stand up for me when her husband is being so rude to me right in front of her. Ida for abandoning my mother and her family in a different country because my stepdad tried to force me to share a room with my step-siblings on a vacation that I paid for.